Welcome to this module on email etiquette. Please click Continue to start the module. At the end of this module, the participants will understand why email writing, different styles of writing, email writing ingredients, punctuations, some improper phrases, importance and impact, email writing tips and rules. Why email etiquette? Why do we write emails? We write emails as it is a mode of communication that helps us reach out to people. Emails help us stay in touch, pass on information and build new relationships. What are some of the benefits of writing emails? Select the options that you feel are appropriate and click Submit. Now that we have seen the benefits of writing an email, we need to understand the difference between personal and business emails. While personal emails are friendly, business emails are professional. Personal emails do not have to follow a specific format, business emails do. Personal emails have informal language and style, business emails follow formal language, style and wording. Finally and most importantly, the reason for all of the above, personal emails are written to friends and relatives, i.e. people we know really well, while business emails can be written to colleagues, vendors, clients and customers, that is, people who we may or may not know. Therefore, here are some of the reasons why email etiquette is important. Different styles of writing. If you are writing an essay, you usually lay out your foundation, then proceed to expound on your thesis, allowing the essay to grow and develop as you take your reader, step by step, through your thinking process, your journey. Business writing is not a travelogue of your journey, allowing the reader to travel with you. Rather, it is a detailed account of the end of the journey and a description of the milestones. In other words, instead of an essay, a business email normally includes only the important bullet points of information that you wish to share. Email writing ingredients. We have discussed that writing as email is different as compared to writing a letter or an essay. Now let's find out what components make up an email. What are the various parts of an email? A newspaper headline has two functions. It grabs your attention, and it tells you what the article is about, so that you can decide if you want to read further. Email subject lines need to do exactly the same thing. Use a few well-chosen words, so that the recipient knows at a glance what the email is about. People read the mail mostly based on what is in the subject line. Remember that everyone tries to reduce the amount of spam email messages they receive. If you make appropriate use of the subject line, you increase the chances of your email being read, rather than being mistaken for spam and deleted without so much as a glance. Of course, just as it would be ridiculous to publish a newspaper without headlines, never leave the subject line blank. Emails with blank subject lines are usually spam. Remember, an effective subject line should not have more than 7 words. A salutation is how a person is addressed or greeted in an email. It therefore begins with a greeting word, hi or hello, followed by the person's name to add a personal effect. The formal method of writing a person's name is: we can use Miss or Mrs. if we know the receiver's marital status. When we do not know their marital status, it is safe to use Ms, which is a neutral term for a lady. If the receiver has a special profession, they will use a special title instead of the general titles mentioned above. For example, the email signature should be able to give us an idea of the person's title. The salutation therefore should be: first name can be used if we are familiar with the recipient. An introduction is an expansion of the subject line. It states the purpose of writing the email in no more than 2 sentences. If it is in response to an email we have received, the intro line be a reference to their email. For example, for a short email response, an introduction is not required. For example, please find the invoice status details below. The body of the email consists the details that you wish to share with the recipient. In order to make the email easy to read and understand, the body of the email must be well formatted and the contents well organized. We can use various formatting aids like bullet points, tables, screenshots, etc. to organize the data or details in an easy-to-read and formal but clean manner. Each point must be explained in one paragraph. We must use a space between paragraphs to separate them from each other. We must ensure that all the points client has mentioned or questioned must be acknowledged and responded to. If the email has too much information, it is good to summarize the details/actions taken. Ensure that any data or action or clarification required from the recipient is mentioned clearly and specifically. This is where we can apologize for an error and/or provide them what we call the further assistance. Further assistance given the recipient all the details they might need if they need to contact us again. This leaves the communication line with customers open and friendly. This is usually used with external recipients like the vendors. Internal recipients like client counterparts do not need this as they know how to contact you. Notice the further assistance given in the sample. The closing of an email is very important as it leaves a lasting impression on the recipient. Short emails usually do not require a conclusion and can directly move to closing. Any action points or confirmation etc. can be included in the closing statement. It is the formal written way to say have a good evening or it was nice meeting you or don't forget to send pictures. Closing statements in an email could include the further assistance if a conclusion is not required. They can formally say thank you for your email. Have a good day. The closing also includes the closing greeting that can be any of the following. A signature is how you identify yourself and your company. It's your visiting card and must be included in all the emails. It includes. The attachment facility gives us the chance to share lots of information without having to load the body of the email. We should list the name of the attachment in the body of the email to ensure the recipient notices it and understands what it refers to. Giving a title or name to the attachment is important. It makes it easy to find and refer to, especially once it is downloaded. Overly large attachment, Excel can be converted into binary file and PPT or Word can be converted to PDF file to reduce the file size. Also, if this is not possible, save the file in a shared drive or a share portal and share the link instead of attaching the file. The option to zip many files into one compressed folder can be used if multiple files need to be shared. An attachment appears at the beginning, as an icon, therefore, please ensure that you have attached the relevant file before hitting the send button. Punctuations. What is punctuation? Punctuation is the use of spacing or conventional signs that aid in clarifying text so that it is understood correctly. It aids correct reading of written text whether read silently or aloud. Let's take a look at some of the key punctuation marks, what they are and why they are used. Click each marker to know more. Let's take a look at the effective use of punctuations. What do you make of this paragraph? Does this one make more sense? Some improper phrases. Some of the phrases that we frequently use in emails are actually a direct translation from vernacular language to English. These translations are grammatically incorrect. Some of them are listed below with the correct alternatives. Importance and impact. Any communication requires tone management to be able to pass on the message effectively and appropriately. Emails too have tone management. The words in our sentences indicate the tone and thereby the emotion attached to the message. It is important to use words or phrases like please, request you, thank you, etc. However, it is important not to overuse them. While writing, we must avoid using any jargons or abbreviations. Also, we must use simple English and short sentences. Let us look at a few tips on tone management while writing business emails. While writing a negative message, it helps to use indirect and passive sentences. Some examples of active to passive sentences. These will give us an idea on how to write passive sentences if our message is negative. Let's summarize the important sections, the parts of an email. Remember, the subject line decided whether the recipient will read your email or not. People read the mail mostly based on what is in the subject line. Subject lines are headlines, like in newspaper. Grabs your attention, you decide to go through based on the SL. Brief of the email, it talks about the body in brief. Effective subject lines, serves the purpose. Is there a bad subject line or good subject line? This is possible when you can put all the relevant information in the subject line, followed by the letters IM. This lets the recipient know that he or she doesn't even have to open the email, all the information is right there. The subject line is the message. If you receive this kind of email, you should not criticize the sender. While we do not use this style, it is not incorrect. Remember that we are writing a business email and our salutation must be formal. Remember, a friendly but appropriate opening statement is important. Hope you are doing well. This is in regards to the invoice number 1234. Remember, body of the email must be well organized and formatted, making the message easy to understand. Read both the email examples and select the most appropriate one and click Submit. Closing appropriately is very important. This is where we decide whether an email is an informative or an actionable email. Closing includes a closing greeting right before the signature. Here are a few examples. An email signatures could be funny, interesting quotations, your address. But it should always be brief. Some companies have their specific signature format. Employees should comply with that format only. You can also point to detailed contact information on your website or blog or social media. Comply with your company policy on that. Indicate attachments in the body of the email. You may list the name of each document you are including in the email. For instance, if you have included many documents and need to ensure that the recipient is aware of each document, it may be a good idea to list the names. Title the document that you are attaching in a way that is easy for the recipient to find once he or she downloads it to his or her files. Make sure that you do not send overly large attachments. Email writing tips and rules. Here are some tips to help us with email writing.